Now, without further delay, and this is for all the travelers here at home and overseas, the nephew and son of BKB legends Bartley and Sam Gorman, cousin of Tyson Fury, and he is also a promoter and boxer himself. Mr. Jerry Gorman, it's a pleasure to have you on tonight's broadcast.
It's a pleasure to have me. Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, without going into long details, you are BKB royalty worldwide because of your family name. It's in your blood and it's a part of the culture. Tell me, what do you like about being a Gorman, and do you have issues with living in the shadow of your uncle and father?
Well, being a Gorman, you get recognised a lot for it, which is a good thing. There's not really many bad points to it, I'd say. Everyone recognises it, and they'll come up and they'll tell you stories about my Uncle Bartley, and I knew him, and my dad knew him, and I'll try and take a positive look from it, to be honest.
Now, off the show, you told me you had 6 BKB fights, but you went in the direction of being a glove boxer. You did very well in the amateurs and are currently fighting in the unlicensed glove circuit, much like Lenny McLean did. Is a pro boxing career in your sights? And if not, what do you intend to still contribute to the sport?
Well, I've been probably started amateur boxing from the age of 12 up to, say, 16. I had 10 over that duration of time. I had 10, won 10. I knocked 9 out. And I struggled to have any sort of contest, really. Because of amateurs, you don't really see many knockouts. And I've done pretty well. And then probably, say, from 16, I sort of lingered out of it a little bit. I had a couple of BKBs. I had 6. Nothing really major, really. From, say, like 16 to 20, I had 6 BKBs. Most of them ended pretty quickly within the first couple of meetings, to be honest. And then from that amount of time, 25 now, I've done a bit of weight training in between, built myself up strong. And then I had my first unlicensed / semi-pro last Saturday night. I boxed a Polish guy. I knocked him out in about 45 seconds. I'm looking into having a few more of these. And if a professional contract come up and someone offered me, I wouldn't mind going for one.
Now, many people may not know much about your uncle and your dad. Can you share some memories that you have of them with us listeners?
Probably, Uncle Bartley. Probably one of my best memories of Uncle Bartley should be. I'll probably be about 12. Probably one of the funniest, really. And he'd probably come over on a Sunday, because he'd dress in Sunday's best. He'd always go to church. He'd have Sunday dinner, and he'd come over on a Sunday dressed in his best, and I'd get the boxing pads out. I'd say, get me on the pads, Uncle Bartley. And he'd be like, I'm not really dressed for it today. And he'd still be doing it, though, even though he wasn't even dressed for it. And I can remember one time he had the pads and he did, come on then, we'll do a few rounds and that. So from a young age, I was always very enthusiastic about it. But I don't think he really wanted to do it as much. He said it was quite violent, really. He didn't really like us to do the boxing side of it. But it's just an instinct, and sort of we've been reared up to do it, you know what I mean?
Now, on your dad, can you tell us something about your dad?
Dad-wise, well, my dad died when I was very young. I was 6 when my dad died. But I can remember him pretty well, but my brother can remember him better. But my dad was really more quiet. He wasn't quite as loud as my Uncle Bartley used to be about it, because he was, to be honest, he was more into the boxing side of it. And he was very big and very dangerous. He used to spar with Jerry Quarry. And if you're sparring people that standard, when it comes to bare knuckle fighting, you're not going to have much opposition. You're going to end up hurting someone. He was just very big, very powerful. Probably in his younger years, probably slave like in his 20s, he used to be around about 15 stone. But then when he got to like over 25, he went up to like 18, 19 stone, filled out really big. Just a very extremely powerful. Even Uncle Bartley said he was better than him. But to be honest, he done what he had to do. He probably had about 20 unlicensed fights with Dad, and he had hundreds of BKBs. But to be honest, he destroyed most of them, to be fair.
Now, you're related to the Fury family, and I'm sure you keep in touch still to this day. But what are your thoughts on Tyson Fury and on a potential David Price fight, considering we both had Tyson Fury and David Price on the show in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, I talked to his uncle quite a lot, Peter. I keep in contact with him, because obviously we exchange like phone calls and stuff, and I sent him a clip of my fight the other day. He was impressed with it. He said he was good. Tyson, I rate him one of the best heavyweights in the world at the moment. He's that big and he's that powerful and he's got the pedigree. And they're on about him fighting David Price. David Price has never fought anyone remotely as good as Tyson. Tyson has fought world-class opponents and beat them, Derek Chisora. And I don't think you can say that about David Price. He just fought Audley Harrison and knocked him out in so many seconds. But I think if that fight was going to happen, I'd pick Tyson. Tyson would be definitely a winner for me all day. He's big, he's strong. I think Tyson's big, and I think Price, he's big and he's stiff, but I think Tyson would beat him 7 days a week for me.
Now, I know you're not really into the BKB scene because you're more the glove pro fighter, but I know that since it's a part of your culture and all, that I'm sure that you know people out there right now who do it, who, in your opinion, that people may not know are, in your opinion, the best out there in England and Ireland right now?
England and Ireland, to be honest, really among over it, it's not very, how can I put it? They're like when I've seen some of your BKB fights, they're very quite organised and look very good. Over it, they're not very organised at all. It's a bit mayhem, to be honest, when you get it over here. They're not very organised. To be honest, there's that many, I couldn't really pick one. There's that many bare knuckle fighters, you couldn't really say like, oh, he's the best or he's the best. There's that many what do it. There's a lot of people in this country who can fight. There's loads and loads of it. But to be honest, a lot of them do the glove fighting now because I think it's probably more arranged and it's probably more better for them and safer. But with the BKB side of it, it's not very organised over here. Obviously you get the odd ones. You got like a little group. We'll have some nice clean fights. You see some good ones, but a lot of it do end up breaking out in riots and don't really end up to being as clean as some of yours over there was what I've seen.
Now, the last I heard, Shane Meadows was still in production to start the Bartley Gorman movie, and you were slated to play your uncle in the film. Is there any news on that going on?
Well, he wants to do it, but personally myself, I think it's too big for him to pull off because I've messaged him, he's never got back to me on it. He's never done anything on it, and there was an American company, I don't know how true this is, they wanted to take the movie on and they wanted to do it. And Tom Hardy, you know him, who played in the Batman movie, he played Bane. His inspiration for the voice was my Uncle Bartley, he said. He listened to him. So I've said on a number of occasions I'd like Tom Hardy to play it. He played Bronson in the film. He's got the physique and stature. But I think it should be done sometime soon. I think it should be done properly, not like snapped or something, like silly. It's got to do him justice.
Well, I know myself as a fan. I happened to get Bartley Gorman's book, that he had done with Peter Walsh, last Christmas, and I can honestly say it is one of the best boxing books that I have ever read. Straight out, one of the best stories all around. What this guy did throughout his whole life is truly unbelievable, and I've read it probably 4 or 5 times since getting it. So, the movie, I think, would be the best logical step.
It would. I think the thing that I worry about, I think they struggled to find someone to match my dad because he's that much of a physical stature of a person to look at him. You couldn't help but look at him. You'd have to get someone awesomely to play the part of him as well. You wouldn't just have the Bartley, there'd be 2. They've got to have 2 main roles. So that's another thing to look into. But the thing, I've read the book a couple of times, but it's a bit hard for me to read because I'm quite close to everything. I get a bit choked up reading some of it, so I can't really read all of it. But I've read it. I've read it through once, and I've only ever read it once.
Now, Jerry, it's been really a pleasure to have you on the show, and we'd love to have you on again. But before you go, I'd love you to tell the listeners about the UBL Fight Club that you started and how people can get info on upcoming shows, and just tell us how that all started.
Well, how it all started, I've loved boxing all my life. My brother, he used to be pro. He had probably amateur and pro fights combined. He had about 100. He had about 70 amateurs. He had 7 pros. He's more into the training side of it now. We've always been into it. And there was a guy who lived not far from me. He used to put on licensed boxing shows on. I seen him one day and he said, "Oh, I saw when you put the next show on, just having a bit of talk. How you do?" "Oh," he said, "I've got one 8.1 on no more," he said. So I wouldn't mind doing one with you. He said, "Would you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, if you want to, we'll put one on such and a date." So we had a few words, and then I train over a gym in Coventry, a little village not far from me. And I've been trained down there. We've always had a couple of lads. I've got one lad, he was amateur finalist. I've got another who used to be a powerlifter, he's about 35, extremely strong. I've got all sorts. We've got ex-pros in the game. We've got ex-pros, ex-professionals, amateurs. We've got all sorts. And what it is really, it's not amateur. It's not professional. It's like unlicensed but / semi-pro. It's in the middle. We do 3 rounds, 3 2-minute rounds. The referee judges the fight, and it's we have no head guards, no shirts, 10-ounce gloves. We've got belts. You can fight in different organisations. I've probably got I've been doing it for a year now, and I've probably got round about 70 fighters in it. It's like a UBL League, Ultimate Boxing League. It's pretty, it's good, and for some, if you go in, say if you're an amateur boxer and you want to go pro, it's a big step, and you've got no head guard, and some of them can't contrast with it. So if you had a couple of these just to get you used to no head guard and the roughness of it, because it's like pro boxing but a little bit rougher. The referee's probably a little bit more lenient on that, and it's or even if some lads, if they just want to fight in that, they can fight in our league and make their way up to it.
Well, I wish something like that was over here in America, because I was a street fighter from a wrestling background. I did some BKB myself, but there was no real amateur program where I was growing up, and there was no semi-pro either. I just went straight into the pros, and I got more or less eaten alive, in my pro debut against a silver medalist.
Yeah.
So I really wish something like that was there. Can anybody fight in the UBL? Can an American come over and fight on your shows, or is it just English people?
Well, I'll get a lot of lads ring me up, but what I do, I get them down the gym. I've got to have a look at them first to see, because I've had some lads, I want to have a go on it. Well, I said, well, you can't get in there and you're going to get hurt, mate. You've got to get in there and I've got to see what you can do. Like we've got one man, he's in the gym now, he's 37. So really probably in boxing terms, you might think, oh, he's a little bit past it, but he's 37, he's quite short in stature, but he's as strong as a tank. He had a fight, he fought like 25, and he had a blistering fight for 3 rounds. They just punched bells out of each other. It was a close fight, it was a draw. But if they wanted to come over, we could put them in the league. I had my debut in it, because I've been putting the shows on. And it's quite stressful to put a show on and box on the same time. But I put a show on, and I fought on it with the boys as well. I was on first. I went in there, knocked me go out, come back out and help the boys afterwards. But if anyone wanted to box in it, yeah, they could. They'd have to come over, they'd have to train with me. I can see what they've got, and I know how to match them then, what sort of level to what opponent I can get from. And we've got all different weights. We've got from lightweights, we've got an heavyweight belt, we've got a middleweight belt, and we've got a cruiserweight belt.
Now, myself, I'm a little bit of a heat getter. I love to stir up some buzz and everything. And I know you're not interested in doing bare knuckle fights whatsoever. You're not in that business. But let's say hypothetically that one of the bare knuckle men who is going to be a guest later on in the show decides, I would love to fight Jerry Gorman with gloves on. Would you take that up on?
Well, I'm into the promotion side of it, and I've got quite a lot of fights lining up. So really, I've got most of them ready there for me. To be honest, I've got a title fight coming up, and I'm just doing this to get me ready for the pro. To be honest, I'm just keeping me going, and then I'm looking at to get myself a pro contract. If someone can give me like a Frank Warren or someone. So really, I'm heading for bigger things. To be fair, this is just keeping my lads going, keeping me going, and then I want to move on to the next level.
Well, I understand that perfectly well, but more or less, if the interest was there, you would consider it.
I would consider it, yeah. If the interest was there, but it's got to be in a money side sense, to be honest. And with my sort of game, it's got to make money sense. It's got to make business sense as well. There's not always this fight's going to happen and that's going to happen. It's got to make something good. Do you know what I mean? To be a good side of it. And I'm just keeping these just to get me used to, with no head guard on, no shirt on. And really, I want to be in the pros. I want to try and get a TV deal with a good promoter, someone like a Frank Warren, and be on the sort of same track as some of the young prospects out there.
Well, Jerry, considering we have a lot of contacts, over in the UK, I do believe we happen to have contact with Mr. Frank Warren and things like that, and we would love to actually try to set something up like that. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
We can do that. Try to send out some feelers and everything like that. And
yeah, that would be good. Well, I'm getting a few of these in it just to get me used to the no head guard on. I'll have probably another year or so of this, and then it'll be time for me to go to my next level then.
Now, how do people get in contact with you for information on these UBL shows that you put on?
Well, I will be I'm in progress now, because I just started, I've been doing it probably a year now, but because it's got so popular so quick, I'm in progress of I'm going to be making a website of it with like my fighters' weights, heights, what categories and who's who, and so people can look on them. I'm in the progress of making that at the moment. So within the next couple of weeks I can give you the link or whatever, and you can post it on your show and people can look on it from there.
That would be great to do. For anyone who's interested in knowing more, go to Facebook.com and look up UBL Boxer on Facebook, and that is Mr. Jerry Gorman, and he will give you what information you need to know. Thank you, Jerry, for coming on the show. Jesus bless you and your family, and give our best regards to your brother Sam and your Uncle Bartley's son and daughter and their children, too.
Yes, thank you very much, and you as well. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, thank you.
Okay, very much appreciated.
Yeah, I think so. It went very well.
Is that all right, Josh?